So now let's go ahead and implement the search engine results page. So now if I search for olives, nothing will actually happen because we have first not linked this form to any request handler. And also we actually need to create a new request handler that will search for recipes inside of our entire index. But this time we're going to be searching any field, not just the user ID field, okay? So let's go ahead and see how we do that. Okay, first of all, let's go to the router and let's create a new route and call this /search. So anything going into this request handler, we know that we are searching our index. So let's say app.serp.search recipes. Now SERP is short for search engine results page. So this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be creating a search engine results page. So let's go inside of app and actually open up the search engine results page Python file. So again, SERP, and the same routine as always, from framework.request handler, import yum search request handler, then class search recipes, extends off of the yum search request handler, and def get. So now we need to pick up the query that the users will be passing into this request handler. So we can say query is equal to self.request.get queue, because we're going to name the parameter sending the query queue. So again, now we need to specify the index we want to search over. So index is equal to, and here we need to import the search API. So let's say from google.appengine.api import search. Okay, so this will be search.index uppercase I, and the name of the index is going to be recipes. And here is where we can actually start to create a more advanced search function. So one thing that we're going to want to do is to present a snippet. Okay, so what is a snippet? So a snippet is this thing here. It's basically a short preview that the search engine generates so that you can figure out whether or not this result it has found is relevant to you or if it's not. So it's basically, it gets all of the text that it has indexed for this document. So in our case, it can be the title, it can be the directions, it can be the ingredients, and it generates a small copy of this text, and it even cuts it in places so that it presents to you that in this content in fact holds the words that you are searching for. Okay, so we're going to be doing this to show the user some kind of information so that they can decide whether or not this result is relevant to them. So a snippet inside of the search API is basically a function we need to express as a string. So whenever we're passing this string into the search API, it will understand that it needs to evaluate this string and do what it needs to do in the background to present our snippet. So let's go ahead and actually create this string. Okay, so I'm going to say snippet is equal to, and now we need to type in the function as a string to pass it into the search API. So I'm going to say the function is called snippet, so I'm going to say snippet, open and close parentheses, and here we need, the first thing this function accepts is the query itself. So again, to create this snippet, it needs to know what is the query in order to cut this text in such a way that it presents the text, because maybe this text can be very long and maybe the words that we're looking for are not at the beginning or they're not at the end, they're somewhere in the middle. So it needs to figure out all of this, and actually it can actually cut the text and skip some bits so that it then goes to another bit where the word appears. So it can again show you another instance of this word. So luckily we don't have to figure out how to do this because Search API does this for us using this function. So again, the first thing we need to pass is the string or the query. So I'm going to type in double quotes. So again, these quotes need to be different from these quotes here. So I recommend you open them up with a single quote, and here we type in double quotes, and we type in a %s where we will substitute the query. Next, we want to specify what field we want to snippet over. Okay, so if we go back to recipes, we have all of these fields available to snippet them. And I'm going to be using directions because it's going to be the one that has most content. So I'm going to go back to my SERP and type in directions. Next, we need to specify the length of the snippet. Okay, so this snippet can be longer or shorter, and we need to provide the amount of characters we want it to be. So I'm going to say 140 characters, okay? And finally, we just need to substitute this %s with the query. Okay, so now we can actually start to build out the actual search object for our search API. So I'm going to say results is equal to index.search. And this is going to be a little bit different because now instead of just passing in the query, we need to build the query itself. So I'm going to say query is equal to query. So so I'm passing the query into the query parameter. So the query is going to be a search.query object, and this search.query object contains various items. So I can say query string is equal to query, but also I can provide some options. So options is equal to options, and we have yet not created the variable options. So the reason why I did this in a weird order, or I started basically at the end, so retrieving our results, is because I wanted to show you guys that, you know, we can build search queries in another way, in a more structured way, and there are some options we need to pass, and these options will actually account for creating the snippet, okay? So let's go ahead and create these options. So above, I'm going to say options is equal to search.query options, and here we need to provide what returned expressions we want. So a snippet is a returned expression. So I'm going to say returned expressions is equal to, and this is a list because we can provide any amount of returned expressions we want. So we can tell it to give us back any amount of returned expressions we want. So the only returned expression I will want is a search.field expression. And here we say the name of this field expression is going to be snippet, and the expression itself is going to be our snippet function in as a string format, okay? So essentially here into the field expression, we are passing in a function as a string, which then Search API goes ahead and evaluates, and it does all it needs to do, so that for every single result, it will return a snippet matching the query over the directions field in each document of 140 characters long. Okay, good. So now we have everything we need. So one thing that can happen is we type in a query that returns no results. This can happen very well. So let's actually create an empty list so that we don't run into errors. So let's say docs is equal to an empty list. And if we find results, so if results, we turn docs into the results.results. Okay, so the list of documents inside of this results. Okay, so in this way we can avoid having errors, because if we don't find any results, then there's a chance that results.results will be, results.results. That results.results will be a non-type, so we don't want this. So we can go ahead and then say TPL values, so template values is equal to a dictionary, and we can say recipes as the key, and the value will be dogs. And we need to also provide the query. So the query will be query, and we'll see why in a second, because we will be formatting the HTML and using the query in various parts of the HTML. And finally, we just need to render the template. So self.render, and the path to the template will be serp/serp.html, and the values will be TPL values. Okay,